What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie290, the commercial office, again through the power of the internet. And yeah, if you can tell from my voice, I'm fighting something. It could be just the cold or the flu, or it could be that other thing. I don't know. I don't even bother getting tested anymore. It's all the same to me. I've caught the flu like 3 or 4 times in the last year. One of them could have been COVID, probably not, maybe. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't change anything. It's not like I'm around people hardly. It's not like I go places hardly. For the most part, where I'm sick or not, whether it's COVID or not, doesn't really change things. So I don't feel the need to get tested. But this is a rambling video. I want to talk about some of the times that I've been sick in my life and just tell you some interesting stories about it. If you're an Uber fan, you'll probably enjoy this. If not, go ahead and hit the back button. Drop a like before you do, though, okay? Like it. Like it. I got diagnosed with asthma at a really early age, and I caught pneumonia like a dozen times by the time I was 10 years old. And my parents chain smoked in front of me. I mean, at one point, there was always at least one cigarette being lit. They didn't step outside to smoke. They didn't ventilate the room. They didn't open the windows. They didn't roll down the windows in the car. They just smoked in front of you, which I don't think is that abnormal for being born in 1974. But is it any surprise I had breathing problems? Looking back on it, it seems pretty obvious. You guys remember that fitness day where once a year we would test our bodies for the government and we'd sprint and run and do pull-ups and push-ups? When we had to do that, I would cough up giant yellow gobs of phlegm the whole time, and eventually it would make me vomit. And looking back, that makes obvious sense because by the time I was 18, I breathed more cigarette smoke than your average smoker will in a lifetime. But I caught pneumonia over and over again. Even when I got chicken pox, I got pneumonia with it. They ended up having to put me in an oxygen tent. Back then, I don't know if that's something they still do now, but when you have chicken pox and they put you in an oxygen tent, it causes the chicken pox to get worse. I had them on every inch of my body, and I know what you're thinking. Yes, I had them there too. It was very uncomfortable. And I remember when I was in the hospital, I would have crazy fevers. I would remember hallucinating. I remember them dunking me in a giant tub of ice water because my temperature was 108 degrees, and they were afraid I was going to bake myself alive. I had some really wild hospital stays. And looking back on it, I don't think they do that kind of thing anymore. I don't think they dunk you in ice water. I don't think they do oxygen tents. I don't think they do some of the weird shit they did. But it kept me alive, so I can't complain too much. And my mom, as dichotomous as she was, the one very good thing she did was befriend a local respiratory therapist. Her name was Sharon. She was a really good person. She came over to the house, and I remember her beating my chest to get phlegm out of it, teaching me how to cough up my own phlegm out of my lungs, teaching me how to use my weak lungs and avoid and control my asthma, and how to just survive in the environment that I found myself in. And God, Sharon, if you ever see this, God bless you. On top of that, I was allergic to trees. I was allergic to cut grass. I was allergic to flower pollen. I was allergic to bees. I was allergic to everything. And so several times a year, I would just stop breathing for fun, I guess. Just my body found that something it wanted to do. I distinctly remember back when I was small enough for Mom to still be able to carry me, she took me to this church wedding, and the church was filled with flowers, and I stopped breathing and passed out. And I remember coming to on the church stairs with my mom lifting my shirt up, rubbing my chest, and finally I caught my breath. But that just gives you an idea of how bad I am at breathing, just as a general rule. Now, the good news is, after about 5 or 10 years of being out of that chain-smoking household and not being around smokers anymore, my breathing got incredibly better. And later on in life, when Claritin became available over the counter, that stuff really changed my life for the better. I wasn't just constantly leaking like a sieve. I wasn't having to blow my nose 100 times a day. That is how I got the nickname Boogie, by the way. Some of you already knew that, but it's because of my runny nose. That's how I got the nickname Boogie. And as someone with breathing issues and asthma and being around chain smokers and being morbidly obese my whole life, I swear I've been sick about as much as I've been healthy, which is a nice perspective to have, I think. It makes you grateful for when you're able to breathe. It makes you grateful for when you're able to walk or get up and move. It makes you grateful when you're not in chronic pain. So I feel like I don't know, it taught me a really important life lesson of what to value and what not to value. When this whole COVID COVID-19 2020 thing started, I talked to my doctor and he's like, Steve, if you get this stuff, it will kill you. You need to stay away from human beings until there's a vaccine. And since I was already pretty depressed, I'd already gone through a mental breakdown. Since I was literally quitting YouTube at the time, I thought, hey, why not? I don't need to be around my friends. I have someone who can grocery shop for me. We can get stuff delivered. So that's what we did. I was only around one human for the better part of a year, save a couple of relapses where I desperately needed to be around humans like my friend Jacob. But otherwise, I just sat at home and waited for it to be over. That's something I learned really early on. I listen to my doctors. If they tell me to do something, I do it. If they tell me to take something, I take it. They tell me to get vaccinated, I get vaccinated. They've kept me alive this long. The one thing I won't do, apparently, when they tell me to, is lose weight. But in my defense, food is fucking delicious. And now that I'm vaccinated, now that I have the flu vaccine, now that I have everything in me that my doctor told me to put in me, I know that I'm just going to be fine this time through. And if I'm not, I'm in close contact with my doctor via email. So I can reach out to them at any time. They'll have me in at any time. They can prescribe whatever they need to anytime. And I'm pretty good at being sick. I always have the sick supplies you need laying around and just waiting to go. So all I'm doing is resting and enjoying, God of War Ragnarok and waiting for it to be over. Like so many things in life, you just wait for it to be over. So I wanted to make more videos this week. I wanted to live stream a little bit more. I wanted to put a little more effort into our relationship, me and you, but I'm sorry I wasn't able to do that. But I promise you, as soon as this is over, I'll be here, and hopefully you'll be here to watch. This flu is definitely getting around, though. Most of the people I know have it right now. Like, everybody has it. In Northwest Arkansas, it's kicking some ass. So if you've got it, take care of yourself. Promise me you will. And as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I will speak with you again soon. Apparently, I'm going to go cough up a bunch of phlegm now. See ya.